Hello, this is Anthony. Let's sit and talk. um, Today, I want to talk about unconditionally loving yourself. What that means, and why it's important. You see, I think as we go through life, we are projected onto ourselves this illusion of what love really is, and and the problem is that the projection of love that we see in everyday life is not unconditional. It's, in fact, it's very much conditional. It's I'll love you if you love me. I'll do this for you if you do this for me. It is not acknowledging and accepting the divinity in all things and all beings that we are surrounded with. And at first I started to cue this up, and I was going to go a completely different direction with the video, but I feel called on this in this video to talk really a little more about circumstance and situation, because I think that as we continue to see this reflection or projection of what love is to us, we fail to understand that true love, that unconditional love, that love that is the all, that runs this whole system, that is meant to be tapped into, whether you, however you view that. Meaning, for me, creator is unconditional love. Now, those things are just words. We use the word love, but it could be anything that we would replace that with. But unconditional love is that of having a feeling of emotion, of appreciation, of value, of worth, of care, of desire, without any expectation in return. That is unconditional love. And just understanding the value of every being and all things in this illusion, in order to be able to understand it within self. And the reason it's difficult for some people to do that is because, the projection creates a path for us to distort what love is, and the distortion is created through all of the what we perceive as the negative events and catalysts that happen all around us that creates fear. You see, fear is the opposite of love. It is not hate. Hate comes out of fear. But once you're able to overcome the fear, then hate quickly dissipates. Because as you begin to understand other things and other beings and other aspects or ways of life, and you begin to understand what creates that catalyst or that trigger in you that feels separate from that thing, you begin to understand that thing isn't separate, that this is an aspect of life. You see, as we go through life, we always think duality, but what's become ever so clear for me is duality doesn't even actually exist. You see, our brain and the way that we're meant to experience this illusion is linearly, that there's a left and a right and an up and a down and a right and wrong. However, the more I dive into these aspects of duality, I recognize something that becomes ever more clear, which is the one perfect symbol is the circle. And when you begin to understand that a line has beginning and an end, but there's really no beginning and end, you're taking that line and essentially you're folding it up, and that is what the circle is. And so, for instance, the further someone, from a political perspective, the further someone leans to the left, eventually they're going to come back to where their values start resonating with the right, and vice versa, because it loops. You see, the best way to describe duality is the infinity symbol. And the reason why that's the best way to describe reality is because the circle, which is perfect, is just flipped upon self in order to create constant beginnings and endings in order to indicate to self that where you are is not always where you're going to be and not where you're meant to end up. It's just, as one song, I think I thought of this one time, this joke, as one song hit me. Every new beginning is from somebody else's end. Closing time, that was the song. I don't know why that was so difficult for me to remember. But if you think about that, it's true. At first, when I used to, when I began to understand tarot in the beginning of my journey, getting those tens always at first felt a little scary. I feared it because I thought, oh no. But then once I realized that 10 is the beautiful card, because it means that a lesson has ended and a new one shall begin. That a period of time that I maybe didn't care for is revealing a new time that I maybe will care for more, or a new lesson that I'll enjoy more. It's the same with the death card. The death card used to be scary. The Tower card used to be scary, but then I recognized that my mindset had been in such a position of fear and lack and not of unconditional love that I was viewing the card wrong. The death card actually means transformation, and transformation can be an amazing thing. The Tower card means surprises, and everyone thinks, oh, it's a bad surprise. No, not necessarily. And to be honest with you, most surprises I've ever had in life have been amazing. But that's because I view life more from an unconditional perspective, unconditional love perspective aspect versus conditional. You see, life is a paradox. The more you want something, the more it seems like you struggle to get it. But at the moment you decide, I'm not even sure that's something I desire, well, then it shows up at your door. That's just how it works. And why that is, I think that's because it comes down to this one aspect that's very important for you to understand. Control. Control is an illusion. It is not real. You think, and governments think, and groups of people think that if they can convince everybody to do something in a particular manner, that somehow order is going to be created out of that. But in reality, the tighter we grip onto things, the more things slip through your fingers. But when you accept things, like for instance water, when you put water in a hand, you grip it, the water runs out. But when you open your hands and just hold them together, the water will stay. It will remain for a longer period of time. It's accepting. It's accepting all that is happening versus trying to control it. You see, the ego says that without control, that you can't survive, that there's too much fear, there's too much danger around. But when you understand that control is an illusion and you accept the things around you, that they're happening, whether you try to control them or not, it puts you in a completely different state where suddenly you just have gratitude for all the things around you. And you have gratitude because you understand that all things around you are unconditional love. And the more you embrace the unconditional love in self, the more you accept that the things around you are happening to help you to be able to tap more into that unconditional love, to help you to understand its beauty, its purpose. You begin to understand that the way that we run life is it's an illusion. It's a concept we've created, but life doesn't have to run in this manner. It can run in many different manners and in ways that are much more pleasing to the whole versus pleasing to, in essence, the minority at this point. You say, well, why do you say that, Anthony? Well, I mean, if the numbers are true, which is 1% of all, 85% I think it is, of all of the wealth in the world are owned by 1% of people, you see how that becomes a problem for all things. Then you can even create the illusion of lack just in order to control more. You see how that control is even in our current age beginning to to crumble. Those systems are beginning to crumble. The corruption is beginning to, to pop out, and in order to be healed, because these systems we're not meant to live in a state of fear. We're meant, and we are, unconditional love, and that's the state we're meant to live in. So what you recognize that when fear is created, all that's happening is you're being shown something that needs to be healed. You're being shown something that is likely an illusion, and you're being shown something that isn't real. It's not real. So, what say you? How do you feel about that concept? How do you feel about unconditional love? How do you feel about fear being its opposite? And how do you feel about the concept that lack is non-existent? I'm curious. But as always, if you enjoy this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And until I talk to you again, peace, love, light. I truly hope you have the most amazing day.